Good afternoon, guys. It is hot and humid here. We just got a really good rain shower, so that is fantastic for the garden and everything that we've got growing. But man, I mean, the rain did not cool anything off. It is so humid. I don't think I've ever felt it quite like this before, so it's really just really intense. But we've been doing a lot of stuff here. I'm dehydrating some kale and some blue butterfly pea flowers for medicinal purposes. The kale is going to be more for your green powders for smoothies. We've got some tomatoes coming in, not quite enough to start making big batches of marinara sauce and canning that, or canning tomatoes or anything like that. But I'm using that a lot for fresh eating right now, and so I'll wait till I start getting the tomatoes in by the bushel so that I can process a lot of those at one time and kind of streamline my process and get a lot done quickly. Let's see, what else have we been doing? We've been just kind of keeping up with everything. There's not a whole lot of work going on in the garden, just kind of maintenance stuff. But the other day, or about a week ago, I went down there and we had some pretty bad wind, and it had knocked my corn over. Not completely over. I mean, it was totally salvageable. So I stood them all back up, hilled them up, and everything looked fine. And then a couple of days ago, I was down there, and a couple of the ears of corn, the silks on them looked like they were starting to turn brown, and I thought, man, it seems a little early for that. So I went ahead and opened up those ears of corn just to see if they were in fact ready. And what I found was that the silks are turning brown because we have these worms in every ear of corn down there. And so they're chewing through those silks, which is causing them to die and making them brown. But then they're going down into the ear of corn and actually eating the kernels. So every single ear in my corn had worms. So I pulled all of them out. I went ahead and closed the ears back up best I could, but as I was doing that, I noticed that a lot of my corn stalks didn't actually have ears on them, and so I was a little bit kind of just confused by that. But as I went back in my garden journal from last year, I realized that I forgot to fertilize them. I did fertilize them when they were about knee-high with some really high nitrogen fertilizer, but you're supposed to do that a second time when they tassel. And my soil is very nitrogen deficient, and so because I didn't do that, now I'm kind of paying the price. So I'm really kind of kicking myself for that. I'm not going to get a great harvest off of my corn this year, so worst case, I will get some at a farmer's market and preserve that, or perhaps maybe I will go to the grocery store and just buy some canned or frozen corn, depending on how busy I am with everything else coming in. But yeah, I was really pretty bummed about that. But guys, I'll tell you, I have been struggling lately. I feel like I get up in the morning and I take care of the morning chores, and then I'll go down to the garden and do stuff down there. I'll come up, it's pretty hot by that point, maybe like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm just in the house, just kind of piddling around, right? Like doing the laundry, picking up after the kids. Maybe a batch of pickles needs to be done. Maybe I need to, wipe up the floor with a dog slobber, just little stuff like that. But man, I am so tired. And I don't usually have a cup of coffee in the morning. I usually wait until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm kind of coming down from all of the work of the day and just kind of want to sit down and relax and read the Bible with a cup of coffee. But man, I may have to start having one in the morning because I'm just really struggling. But the garden is not going to wait for me. That corn did not wait for me. It didn't wait for me to fertilize it. It just kept growing. It's not going to produce for me because I'm not on top of this stuff. And man, things just don't wait. You really have to be very intentional about stuff. You really have to have something to remind you of what tasks need to be done, because when you're doing so much between the garden and animals and kids and, hey mama, sit down and read with me, or I want to do this, or the laundry is piling up, you really have to be on track. Nothing's going to wait for us, and especially time. We can't reverse the clocks, we can't slow time down. Things are continuing to progress, and the garden's still growing, the national debt is still growing, inflation is still growing, a lot of things growing in this season right now. We're not guaranteed anything. I'm not guaranteed a crop from my corn. In fact, I'm probably more guaranteed that I'm not going to get one this year from that. I'm not guaranteed that Nate's going to come home with a job tonight. I'm not guaranteed that my car is going to start tomorrow, or even that I'm going to wake up. So I really need to figure something out to get my energy up and to really be more intentional about what I'm doing during the day and try to remember those things that are really going to have a lasting impact. And so, like I said with the whole pantry thing, guys, if you can put back a little more food, if you can buy a little more food, there's no shame in going to the grocery store and doing that. I think that that's really going to give you peace of mind. You know, I mean, if you're just kind of skating and kind of just holding on till 2024, hoping that that's going to make things better, you know, none of us know that, and I'm kind of leaning towards no, it's not going to make things better. You know, we're not going to see better leadership come in. I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw in 2020 with that, and so it's just it's concerning. But I think it's really important that we can do what we can do now to start preparing and get the foods that our family will eat and put a little bit more of that on our shelves. I don't know if you guys have seen any other videos, but there's been a lot of talk about something called dumpster dining, and some of the big news agencies are actually reporting on it, and they were interviewing people as they were doing it. These people were going into dumpsters and looking for food because they can't afford to buy it anymore. And this is not the homeless population or drug addicts or things like that. These are your average middle class Americans, and it's really, really sad, guys. Like, I mean, you know, they talk about energy prices going up. Are you going to be able to pay another $100 or $150 a month for your electricity bill? I mean, if food continues to rise, can you handle another 20% increase? Because it's not the 4% they're telling us. Because the 4% that they're telling us, even though it's not accurate, doesn't include the two most basic things that all Americans are buying, gas and food. I mean, are you guys going to be able to swing a bigger bill anywhere? You know, not a lot of us will be able to hold on much more, and it's all by design. You know, the middle class has been shrinking for the last 30 or 40 years, and it used to be that the middle class was the majority, and now we're not anymore. Now we're not. I think we're going to see a very polarized class picture, you know, where you're seeing, you know, the very, very wealthy, and then the poor, which is going to be the rest of us. So, guys, if you can do what you can do now to help your family, help your kids, help your community, because when you see middle class people dumpster diving for food, what comes next? Well, what comes next is that they can't provide for their families. They can't feed their children. They've got nothing left to live for, and that's where we're going to see a huge spike in crime. Your average, good, middle-class people are going to start to take desperate measures in order to provide for their families, or they may just decide that they can't do it and it's just too much. You know, during the Great Depression, a lot of men left their wives and children because they were just so embarrassed that they couldn't provide for them. A lot of people committed suicide because just the stress of it got too much. And guys, I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for me. I don't want that for America. So guys, do all that you can do. For me, I'm just going to keep moving along. I'm just going to try to do the next thing. You know, I had some peach juice on my counter today, so I went ahead and canned that up and made some more peach jelly. And so that was just the next thing that was staring at me. And I think that's sort of how I'm going to have to take it, because, if I don't do that next thing, I can just get caught in the normal routine of just, you know, dusting baseboards and trying to keep the house clean and that kind of stuff. And that's not going to get me anywhere. That's not what is most important right now. But anyways, guys, I hope you all got something from this video. I hope y'all are still preparing. I hope your gardens are growing very well for you this year and you're able to get a lot of harvest off of them. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and we will see you next time.